Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Wednesday, August 16, 2023. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. The Georgia DA, who has indicted Donald Trump and 18 others, wants to start that trial in March. Oh yeah, Fani Willis is not playing around. The survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre will get another chance for reparations after a lower court judge dismissed the case. Damario Solomon Simmons will be here to update us on what happened. A 13-year-old Mississippi girl is forced to give birth to her rapist baby due to the state's strict abortion ban. A 13-year-old raped, and because of their decision, now has to care for that child. All right, folks, comedian Chris Spencer is going to be joining us, talk about his new movie. First time he's been in the director's chair. It's called Back on the Strip. Hits theaters on Friday. Plus, we continue to pay tribute to Clarence Avant. I had a conversation with Reggie Hutland, who did the documentary The Black Godfather when it came out, and we'll show you that conversation. It is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Fani Willis has made it clear, I'm ready. Y'all ready? Let's get it on. She has made clear that she is ready to try Donald Trump and his 18 co-defendants on March 4th. She is asking a judge to set a trial date of March 4th for all those accused of trying to overturn the Georgia's 2020 election. She also asked to schedule arraignments for the defendants for the week of September 5th. The filing indicates Willis is seeking to quickly initiate the process of sharing the discovery with all 19 defendants and wants to keep her word to hold a trial within 6 months. Willis wants to give defendants until 10 days after the arraignment to opt into reciprocal discovery. If they opt in, all parties shall serve discovery materials then in his possession to opposing counsel no later than September 29. Trump and his cronies were indicted on 41 counts, including racketeering, violating the oath of office, and forgery. His former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, they are trying to get this moved out of state court to federal court. It's a whole lot of drama going on. Let's talk about it. Robert Patillo, host, People, Passion, Politics, News and Talk 1380 WAOK out of Atlanta. Rebecca Carruthers, Vice President, Fair Election Center, Washington, D.C. A. Scott Bolden, attorney, former chair of the National Bar Association and D.C. Chamber of Commerce's PAX. He's also out of D.C. as well. Robert, I want to start with you there in Georgia, and that is all these people that are out here speculating, oh, she should wait. This idiot Dan Abrams was like, oh, she should drop her case now that Jack Smith has moved forward with his case. Her case is totally different from his. There's some overlap. But what she is making clear, we don't have to sit here and try to wait till after the election or wait 18 months. Her whole deal is, guess what? If this was any other trial, we're ready to go.
There's a little bit of gamesmanship going on here. The trial's not going to commence in 6 months or 8 months or 18 months. It's just not physically possible in the Fulton County Courthouse. It's just not something that can physically happen. But
why? Hold on, no, wait. Before you go there, explain to the audience why. Why can't it happen in 6 months?
Okay, so one, you had 19 co-defendants with 41 charges, different charges for each co-defendant. Donald Trump has 14 charges. Rudy Giuliani has 13 charges. Some people have 1 charge. Some people have 5 charges. You're already seeing Mark Meadows, he's filing to move to sever his case and move that to federal court. Each one of these 19 co-defendants is going to file a motion to sever, and they're going to have 19 separate hearings for that motion to sever. Regardless of how that comes out, then you're going to have discovery. Then you're going to have fights over discovery. Then you're going to have motions calendar. calendars, then you're going to have fights over the motions calendar. Even getting that number of witnesses in to testify, getting one case in Fulton County done in 6 months is a Herculean effort. Before I had a case that started in 2013 and ended in 2019 before. So I think what DA Willis is attempting to do is just what we're seeing from Mark Meadows, which is the reason Mark Meadows is moving this case to federal court is because he has an agreement with Jack Smith to testify against President Trump. She is setting this timeline out, so particularly these lower level figures, not the top line figures of Trump, Giuliani, Powell, Eastman, not those people, but the remainder of them, giving them the opportunity to cooperate with the state and enter into agreements, and then setting out a calendar to get those things done, because the sooner you get those things done, you can put more pressure on the big dogs in the crime syndicate to move their cases along. This is very much analogous to the Young Thug YSL case, where you saw people like Gunna and other people get their cases resolved early. Meanwhile, Young Thug is still awaiting trial. And even in that case, it took 2 or 3 years to indict the case. Then they've waited 18 months now just to try to seat a jury in the Young Thug case. So the idea that the Trump case will move faster than the Young Thug case, I just don't think is physically possible. But I do think it's gamesmanship on her part to try to push more people to cooperate.
Scott.
Yeah, I agree with Robert. I would offer a friendly amendment. The court's trial schedule is in play as well. On top of all the motions, they have a trial calendar for other cases. And so all of the defendants at some point are going to move to go to federal court because they're going to want to get out of state court. And I don't think they can avoid getting pardoned, if you will, even if they're in state court. What's scary about federal court is that if you get a judge who believes in ancillary or pendant jurisdiction, sorry to take you back to law school, Robert, but those cases could stay in federal court. I doubt it, because the standard for review requires them to have committed these acts in the ordinary course of their presidential or appointed duties. And I'll be honest with you, being involved in a criminal enterprise and undermining votes and trying to steal an election at the state level just isn't going to qualify. There's precedent for this in a prior case, the name escapes me, but in one of the Trump cases. So getting to trial as a practical matter is going to be tough. Secondly, or lastly, let me just say this. You also have this schedule of these other cases that you're kind of fitting in around those trial dates that have been set already. And even if they've been set already, those dates could be moved off or moved upon or moved out or rescheduled. And so the wheels of criminal justice tend to move slowly for all the reasons that Robert gave and all the reasons that I've given.
You know, Rebecca, the thing here, it's amazing to look at some of these folks. Ruth Marcus with the Washington Post writes this column by saying, oh my goodness, is this going too far? In this case, dealing with Donald Trump, which to me is sort of like, okay, that's stupid. What do you mean too far? And, all of these people, I just love how they all are just, everybody is just sort of, just, I won't say making stuff up, but this idea that, oh, this guy is just so different and that we should just sort of just change how we deal with him. I'm sorry. If you get indicted 4 different times, you deal with it. There are other people that have been indicted in multiple cases in different parts of the country, and we don't hear all of these excuses. And I dare say the reason Donald Trump keeps doing what he's doing is because he's never held accountable. As long as you keep making excuses, as long as you keep creating this whole separate, thing here, it goes to show you, again, the problem. And I think that really, for me, is, the big problem here. I mean, like, I was laughing. I'm setting the video up right now. I was laughing. I mean, listen to this nonsense by those idiots on Fox News. Greg Gutfeld, truly one of the dumbest people, okay? I don't even know why he is even having conversations on a news network when he is a flat-out unfunny comedian. But this is literally him talking on the #1 news show on cable, sitting across from real people. And this is the stuff that's being fed that I think feeds into this whole narrative. Oh, this is just too much for the Donald.
This is what federalism allows states to do, to enforce their laws here. And we'll see, to your point, that what you said is exactly right, Judge. His state of mind, if they have evidence showing his state of mind is different than what he claims, he'll have more of a problem.
You don't think this is totally over the top as a judge for? I mean, even when everything you say makes sense, except it's all bullshit. It's all nonstop. We know this is designed to banish and isolate and to destroy a political outsider. Who predicted this? Chuck Schumer. Remember, he said, "Don't mess with intel agencies.
So right.
Don't mess with the intel agencies. They'll arrest your team and keep it off the field."
Do you not think he's done anything to deserve any of this?
He is probably one of the most troubling, consequential figures in history. But no. He doesn't deserve any of this.
And by the way, why didn't they indict him until he announced he was running for president?
Well, they probably had to do
this. Give me a break.
This is what federalism allows states to do, to enforce
he's one of the most troubling, consequential. I mean, Rebecca, that literally is what these people are running around. And then you got some people in media like, oh yeah, I think it's too much. No, if you right now, Arizona is looking at investigating him. He might get indicted in Arizona. People forget they were trying to stop the election in multiple states.
In Michigan, in Wisconsin, the list goes on with other states that are reviewing this. Personally, I do appreciate that DA Willis is setting an aggressive timeline as far as with the court's calendar. And the reason why I appreciate that, just like the defendant, Donald Trump, and the rest of his other 18 folks, they have the right to a speedy trial, but so does the American public. We watched these events play out 3 years ago. And for all these people on Fox News and even in the Washington Post yesterday, one thing that I want to point out is whatever happened to states' rights? I thought all these people for states' rights. So shouldn't a state have the right to determine if they're going to enforce the laws in their book? And if DA Willis saw that there was violations of Georgia law, then she has every right. The state of Georgia has every right to bring prosecution against Trump and his co-conspirators. So I'm excited that she's being very aggressive. And like I heard Robert's point, but one thing I want to point out about the YSL cases and Young Thug is that she, her office had the ability to prosecute 10 people at one time. Sure, Young Thug, which is the biggest fish in the YSL group of cases, he's just now getting his day in court. But we still saw the occurrences around the YSL gang. We've seen that prosecutions have already started. So I expect some of the co-conspirators to flip. And I think by her being aggressive with the court dates, it's also going to apply pressure for some of those folks, i.e. Mark Meadows, to go ahead and flip and turn on Trump.
I'm just literally sick and tired of people, Robert, who throw out that, oh, this is like too much. We as the American people, we can't handle this. Oh my God. Let me be, I need people to understand. Had Richard Nixon not resigned, this would have happened to Nixon. See, I'm tired of this note. What's etched in stone above the Supreme Court? Equal justice under law. There's supposed to be one legal system. And so, I'm sorry, if you did it, if you got to face 10 trials, 10 indictments, so be it. But I am not going to sit here and play this silly little game of, oh, this is just, the world can't handle. We just can't handle the possibility of seeing a former occupant of the Oval Office have to endure this. And then the story is, oh my God, what happens if he gets convicted? The Secret Service, they're not going to allow him to go to prison. I'm sorry, Robert, can you please show me a statute where the Secret Service can say, yeah, if you're convicted in a courtroom and sentenced to prison, we have the right to say you can't go. If the law says they must protect him 24 hours a day, guess what? It's going to be some Secret Service agents sitting their ass outside of a prison cell watching his ass.
Well, a couple things, Roland. One, I agree with the people who say this is just too much. This is just too much to have a president commit this many felonies and still be walking around as a free person. Let's be for real. If anybody else that you knew, if somebody just came in and to apply for a job sweeping the floors at the Black Star Network, and they said, hey, I'm currently under indictment in 4 different jurisdictions for 92 counts that carry to a penalty of maybe up to 1,000 years in prison. Also, I was just found liable for rape a couple months ago, and my previous business got found liable for $2.5 million in fraud. Can I sweep the floors at Roland Martin Unfiltered at the Black Star Network? Nobody would hire that person. So yes, this is entirely too much. But at the same time, let's kind of think about this conceptualization around a head of state not being able to be imprisoned. Right now, Imran Khan in Pakistan is serving a 3-year sentence for not doing a 10th of what Donald Trump had done. So you mean to tell me our legal system is weaker than the Pakistani legal system? You can look at Niger, where President Bassoum is currently in custody, being held by the military for not getting Boko Haram under control and selling out their resources to France. You mean to tell me Niger can jail their former leader, but America can't? What will happen is Donald Trump will be transferred to one of the very nice resort prisons in South Georgia, down in Jefferson County. I had one of my older clients go down there, and it was great. I went to him. We were doing his appeal. He said, look, man, don't work too hard. It's great down here. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, no, but on the outside, I wake up at 3 o'clock every day. I work a 12-hour day. He's like, in here, we got 500 pounds of cable. We have a spa. We have therapy. We have all-you-can-eat burritos. They gave me a puppy to do puppy therapy. Well, Donald Trump will be fine. He'll be in a very nice resort prison. Secret Service will be around outside to make sure no one bothers him, and he will do his 5-year mandatory minimum sentence. Remember, the Secret Service is under the Treasury Department. They are not a military branch. The idea is that the Secret Service will stop Donald Trump from going to prison. Secretary Yellen is in charge of the Secret Service and will tell them to take him to prison. As long as he is safe, secured, and monitored, he will be completely fine. And we have to get out of this idea that we have monarchs or kings in this country. You can be held liable just as anybody else. They will just simply adjust the rules to make sure you can be safely kept and you won't get shanked. Donald Trump won't be going to Oz. He will not be going to The Wire or anything like that. He'll be in a nice Club Fed, and he will be okay. But I do think that this case with Fani Willis is the case most likely to put Donald Trump in prison, because there's not really a way to plea out of it. There's not a way to get a pardon. There's not a way to get clemency. There's a mandatory minimum sentence. Even the Jack Smith cases, there are ways for Donald Trump to come out of it with a guilty conviction and not serve jail time. This is most likely what will put Donald Trump in an orange jumpsuit.
I just laugh absolutely over and over and over again. Just this, oh my God, this is just too much. Nah, not enough for me. Hold tight 1 second, y'all. We come back. We're going to talk about the 3 survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre. They're getting another shot in court, this time before the Oklahoma Supreme Court. We will explain next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Y'all, do me a favor. We need you to support us in what we do. First of all, your contributions absolutely matter. Trust me, we're independent. We don't have millionaires and billionaires sending us checks. So when you donate, you are allowing us to be able to pay staff, pay reporters, do all the different things. And so do me a favor, send check and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered, PayPal R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo is RM Unfiltered, Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans on an annual basis, contributing at least $50 each. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. And so if you can't give that, totally understand. We got people who've given more. We appreciate every dollar that you've given. What that does raises $1 million, which allows for us to be able to fund what we do. All of this, folks, between this show and the 6 other shows on the Black Star Network, it's $195,000 a month. Numbers are real. They're just simply real. And so we know the value of Black-owned media, but we also have to support it. And so please do so. Don't forget also download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Proceeds for that book go right into the show. And so get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Target. Download your audio copy on Audible. We'll be right back.
Question for you. Are you stuck? Do you feel like you're hitting a wall and it's keeping you from achieving prosperity? Well, you're not alone. On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, you're going to learn what you need to do to become unstuck and unstoppable. The fabulous author Janine K. Brown will be with us sharing with you exactly what you need to do to finally achieve the level of financial success you desire through your career.
Because when I talk about being bold in the workplaces, I'm talking about that inner boldness that you have to take a risk, to go after what you want, to speak up when others are not.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The United States is the most dangerous place for a woman to give birth among all industrialized nations on the planet. Think about that for a second. That's not all. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in this country during childbirth than white women.
These healthcare systems are inherently racist. There are a lot of white supremacist ideas and mythologies around Black women, Black women's bodies, even Black people, that we experience painless, right?
Activist, organizer, and fearless freedom fighter Monifa Akinwole Bandele from Moms Rising joins us and tells us this shocking phenomenon, like so much else, is rooted in unadulterated racism. And that's just one of her fights. Monifa Bandele on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
Me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, a story out of Houston, Texas that's gotten a lot of national attention has now resulted in the guilty verdict for A.J. Armstrong Jr. He was a young man in 2016 who was accused of shooting his mother and father in the head, Don and Antonio Sr., as they were asleep. Antonio Armstrong was a star football player at Texas A&M University. Both of his parents had a fitness company, and the first 2 trials ended in hung jury. But they tried him a 3rd time. They, of course, had about 40 hours of witness testimony over 11 days, and the jury deliberated for about 10 hours before rendering this decision. It literally came down just a few moments ago.
All right, in cause number 1546111, the state of Texas versus Antonio Armstrong Jr. We, the jury, find the defendant, Antonio Armstrong Jr., guilty of capital murder as charged in the indictment. It's signed a 4% of the jury. Does either side wish for the jury to be polled?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, when I call out your number, I'm going to ask you if this is your verdict, and you say yes it is, or no it is not, all right? And these are your jury numbers, not your panel numbers. All right, juror number 1, is this your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Juror number 2, is this your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Juror number 3, is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 4, is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 5, is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 6, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 7, is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 8, is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 9, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 10, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 11, is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
And juror number 12, is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
This was a strange case because so when his parents were shot and killed, they allowed for him also to attend the funeral. He had support of his family members. Now, what was equally strange is that the defense literally tried to suggest that it was his brother who did the murder. So it was, I mean, this story got 2020 did an expose on it, and it was just one of those just strange stories that, again, that attracted a lot of national attention. There were folks who were trying to get him. First of all, family members were literally, and I know some of the family members were literally, they were raising money for his defense. There were billboards that were put up in the city saying to free AJ. And so, but the prosecutors, they contended that all the evidence pointed to him as the one shooting and killing his parents. AJ Armstrong Jr. is 23 years old. This happened, he was 16. He now faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. And so certainly just sad all the way around when you think about this particular story. And again, you know, you get loss of life of two parents, both African American, and now this young man, again, it happened when he was 16 years old in Houston, and now he now faces life in parole. And this here is a photo of AJ with his father, AJ Armstrong Sr., and that young man now in prison for the rest of his life. When we come back, we will talk about the case out of Tulsa. They get an opportunity, the Tulsa Race Massacre survivors, they get an opportunity to plead their case to the Oklahoma Supreme Court. We'll explain that next. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes, the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion and the subsequent trial of Tory Lanez. Megan has been treated like the villain. The experience that Megan went through is something that all Black women face when we are affected by violence. This is something that's called misogynoir.
There's a long history of characterizing Black women as inherently bad in order to justify our place in the society.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
This is your boy, Earthquake.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
After a lower court judge dismissed the case last month, the Oklahoma Supreme Court says it will consider a reparations case from survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. But the state says it will not consider a settlement with the three survivors. Damario Solomon Simmons, civil rights attorney, founder of Justice for Greenwood, is joining us now. He's representing those victims. So explain what happened here in terms of the Oklahoma Supreme Court agreeing to hear. You tweeted that this was one of three things that need to happen.
Yeah, good to see you, Roland, as always, and thank you for having me back on the show. I miss you guys. Listen, this is a huge victory and a huge development for us. As you stated, we were dismissed with prejudice by our trial court judge, Judge Caroline Wall. And in the state of Oklahoma, every case that is appealed goes to the Oklahoma Supreme Court. And then 99% of those cases are then sent back down to the Court of Civil Appeals. And then that takes at least a minimum of a year process. And then at that point, the Supreme Court could consider taking the case or not. So the first thing we needed to do was to convince the Supreme Court of the historical significance of this case, the ages of my three clients, 109, 108, and 102 years old, and the impact that this case will have for all lawsuits in Oklahoma, that they should actually hear the case themselves. They only do that in about 1% of the cases that are filed here in Oklahoma. And I'm happy to report here on Roland Martin Unfiltered that they actually agreed with us to hear our case.
So it's stunning to me, the defiance of Oklahoma to act as if there were no public officials involved, to act as if this is no big deal. I mean, they literally are trying to burn it down a second time.
Absolutely, Roland. And this is why I continue to say that this case right here will decide and prove if this is a nation of laws or a nation of men and women. It will prove, do black people have a right? Do they have rights that people have to respect? Or is this 1857 when Dred Scott, the judge in Dred Scott said black people have no rights that a white man is bound to respect? Because when you have a scenario here where it's the largest, most destructive, deadliest, and most costly domestic terrorist attack in the history of this country, 40 blocks burned to the ground. Over 12,000 people suffered the massacre. Up to 3,000 people were disappeared, never to be heard again. Over 8,000 people was confirmed to be homeless, to live in tents and squalor for up to a year and a half. You have hundreds of insurance claims that were filed and not paid. You have hundreds of photos. You actually have video from 1921 showing the destruction. And you still have living survivors, 3 flesh and blood human beings who suffered and remember the massacre. And if these people cannot have a day in court, because that's all we're asking for at this time, Roland. We just want our day in court to prove our case, have our experts coming from around the nation and testify about what happened and what the nuisance that was created and what would it take to fix the legal terms to abate the nuisance. That's all we're asking for at this point, a day in court. If we cannot have that, then what case can we get justice for? If we cannot have this victory, then all of us are at risk, because it means that you can have the absolute worst thing happen to you, and this court system will not give you any legal redress, won't even hear your case in court.
Questions for the panel. Scott, you're first.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt from a legal standpoint or practical standpoint this happened, but were there lawsuits filed before or at and around the time of the Tulsa Massacre? Because I know I haven't seen all the case, but you've got standing issues, you've got statute of limitations issues, I understand the nuisance argument, but in the end, this is decades later, you deserve your day in court, but what's your argument against the fact that you could have filed this lawsuit, not you, but a lawsuit or similar lawsuits could have been filed well before 2023?
Man, great question, Scott. And I'm glad you brought that question. First of all, I want to say that there were lawsuits started to be filed 2 days after the massacre by the great B.C. Franklin, who is the father of Dr. John Hope Franklin, the America's historian. And those lawsuits sat in the Tulsa County District Court system for 16 years. The court refused to hear them, and then they summarily dismissed them in 1937. And then the most famous lawsuit that was filed outside of our case was filed by my mentor, and I got a picture of him right here, Charles Ogletree, who I will be in D.C. this weekend attending his memorial service, as he was the lead counsel of the cases that was filed in the early 2000s when I was a law clerk and a baby lawyer. And those cases were kicked out on statute of limitation grounds. I don't think that was the right decision. I think the judge and the justice system erred. Those are federal cases. The unique thing about our case, Scott, I can't see any of you guys anymore, so I hope you're still there.
No, we all here. Go ahead.
The unique thing about our case is that it is a state-based case, not a federal case, and it's based upon our public nuisance statute, which has been in Oklahoma since 1910. And the public nuisance statute does not have a statute of limitation. It simply says that if the nuisance is ongoing, then you can continue to have a live case. And that's what we have here. We have a nuisance that started in 1921, but has continued since that date. There's never been any issue that stops that nuisance. We have the right to go into court, and we feel very strong that the Oklahoma Supreme Court will look at this case, reverse it, and get us back into discovery. And let me give an example for everyone when we're talking about a nuisance continuing. About 12 years ago, the BP oil spill happened, and everybody remembers that oil was spilling out into the Gulf of Mexico for about 45 days, millions of gallons of oil. So that was what we would call the triggering act, just like the massacre when they were dropping bombs, burning homes, killing people as a triggering act. But then once they capped that oil spill and the oil was no longer gushing out, but you still had oil polluting the ocean. You still had oil killing fish. You still had oil polluting the air. And long as that oil is there causing a problem, it doesn't matter if it's 1 year, 10 years, or 100 years, that nuisance is ongoing and it must be abated. That's the same theory here. That's exactly what happened here. And we have cases here in Oklahoma that go back as far as 85 years where a nuisance is still continuing.
Roland, if I may, so what's the public nuisance you're arguing in the case then? Race discrimination, racial oppression, racial violence, and the manifestations of that over 75 years?
No, those are not the things that we're arguing. And I'm going to answer that question on what we're arguing, but I want to make this very clear. As far as a procedural scenario, in Oklahoma, and the lawyers, I know the lawyers understand it, we have what's called notice pleading. That means, Roland and everyone else, that we have a very low bar. We basically have to say, hey, we had this happen to us, this is the claim we're making, and we want it to be made right. We don't have to be specific and particular about what our remedy would be. That is what our court kicked us out on. She said we did not provide a proper remedy, and therefore our claim fails. Well, she's wrong about that because since 1984 in Oklahoma, is notice pleading. So we don't have to, even though we did, and we can talk about that depending on how much time we have, we don't have to come with the specifics of what the remedy shall be. So that's number one. But number two, Scott, as far as like what is the nuisance, one example, I'll give you one great concrete example. In 1921, the largest African-American owned hotel in the nation was owned by a man by the name of J.B. Stratford, who happened to be an attorney also. That hotel, not only was it the largest hotel in America owned by African-American, it was also the largest employer in Greenwood, and it was a great source of housing and a tax base. That hotel was destroyed, burnt to the ground. It was never allowed to rebuild. It's still a vacant lot right there today where that hotel was located. That is an example of a public nuisance because in Oklahoma, a nuisance is when you make property uninhabitable. And what could be more uninhabitable than being burnt down to the ground and never allowed to be rebuilt?
Rebecca.
Sure. Thank you so much for being here tonight to talk about this. So even 2 years prior to the Tulsa 1921 was the Red Summer of 1919, where, as we know, over 36 Black communities across the country was also burned and looted and all of those things. Is there a broader legal framework that descendants of these massacres should be considering? Because just like to Scott's point, we all know that it was formerly members of the government who backed and allowed for these atrocities to happen to Black communities a century ago. But what is the formal legal framework to actually prove that in court? What is the basis for us even think about this even beyond Tulsa, but those other 36 communities as well?
Yeah, Rebecca, thank you for that question. And you're right. What happened in Tulsa is not unique as far as them attacking Black communities. The thing that made Tulsa unique is the size and the scale of the attack and the destruction and the amount of $200 million in property damage, over 12,000 people impacted, 3,000 people never heard from again, et cetera. To your specific question, That's why our case is so powerful and important for us as a nationwide movement, is because it is a real live legal case. It does have a theory that can work. We should win here on the law. And I'd say in other states where they have similar public nuisance statutes, this is something that we are looking at for other communities across this nation, and everyone should be looking into that. And another thing that you should be doing if you are a descendant of one of these massacres is make sure you are organizing now and getting those stories and that information from those elders. One of the things that we do at Justice for Greenwood, besides our litigation, is we have a genealogy project called We Are Greenwood. And we're doing that. We have about 1,000 descendants in our network. We take oral histories and we do genealogy. So you can start putting those communities back together, bring together those resources, so when you are ready to advocate for policy or legal redress, you have the right people at the table.
Robert?
Kind of expanding on Rebecca's point, it seems that if this is successful, will open the door for all sorts of litigation. You know, if I'm still alive and I got bit by a bull, by one of those race dogs from Bull Connor, that seems that's a civil suit. You know, the descendants of lynching victims seems like they should have their day in court. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the breadth that this could open up to if the courts open up this Pandora's box to allowing civil suits for the descendants or for the living victims of racial violence, all the way down to if you got a hose put on you by the cops, that's a city action, that's a state level action, and therefore you should be able to sue for the injuries that you incurred during that period of time.
Well, see, I think this is where we have to make the distinction of our case versus what you're saying. Those will be personal injury lawsuits, and those personal injury lawsuits will most likely be shut down because of statute of limitations. Now, not to get too technical, but there is a thing called tolling statute of limitations, but it's very difficult to do. Most of those cases are going to get kicked out on statute of limitations. We're talking about legally, right? What is a legal theory that can survive in this legal system that we have to practice in? That's the unique thing about the Oklahoma nuisance statute. It is something that does not have a statute of limitation if the nuisance is ongoing and continuing. And additionally, the nuisance is not for individuals. Our 3 living survivors are the 3 last survivors of the massacre. As a part of an abatement plan, there may be things in there that they can personally receive, but that's not what this case is about. It is not about individuals. It is about the 40 blocks that was destroyed, the 1,515 homes that were destroyed, never rebuilt, and what that did to the community itself. That is the powerfulness of this particular lawsuit, and this is why it allows us to move forward with this case in a real live action. This is not an academic exercise. This is not just making a public PR statement. We have a law that allows us to be successful. Different laws in different states can be utilized differently. So I don't want anyone to think just because what we're able to do would automatically mean that you can, your example, say, hey, I was bit by a dog in 1965, therefore I can bring a lawsuit in court. That may or may not be true. It depends on what your state statute says, what type of laws are available there. But that's why the unique nature of this particular case and other public nuisance cases that are out there throughout this nation. There are about 20 other states that have a public nuisance law that's very similar to Oklahoma. Ours has been on the books for 123 years, since 1910. As I stated, we have case law where cases go back 85 years. In fact, the state of Oklahoma utilized opioid in the opioid litigation. They went back about 35, 40 years. So there's precedent for what we're doing here, and it can be a model, but it depends on the state.
All right, then. Well, Damario, keep us abreast. What happens next? So when your particular date before the Supreme Court?
No, the Supreme Court has no dates or guidelines when they have to respond back to us. Our next hurdle, the next thing that we're hoping to happen is that we get oral argument. We want an opportunity to be going for our 9 Supreme Court justices, answer those tough questions like these lawyers and Rebecca gave me. We look forward to being able to do that, answer those questions, and then for them to make a decision. I will say this last thing, Roland. I did speak to the survivors, all 3 of them today, and they made it clear they wanted me. I told them I was coming on with you, and they said hello. They love you. You're definitely Uncle Red. You his guy. They wanted to make it clear that, listen, they are definitely tired. They're all over 102 years old, but they plan to be here for the long haul. But they're hoping and praying that the Supreme Court will give a decision ultimately on the ultimate decision as they've done so quickly on retaining the case.
Well, look, they have been fighting a long time, and we absolutely stand with them, give them our best, and hopefully the Supreme Court of Oklahoma will do the right thing. All right, we appreciate it, Damario. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland. Peace.
All right, folks, gotta go to a break. We come back. Lord have mercy. How trash are these folks in Florida? We got 3 stories we're gonna talk about, and I'm telling y'all, I keep saying elections have consequences, and what happens when we do not do our part, we get crazies in power. We'll explain next right here in Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes, the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion and the subsequent trial of Tory Lanez. Megan has been treated like the villain. The experience that Megan went through is something that all Black women face when we are affected by violence. This is something that's called misogynoir.
There's a long history of characterizing Black women as inherently bad in order to justify our place in the society.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder.
Right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
Anti-woke idiots in Florida, all of their actions are having consequences. A Black student group, they are actually having to change their name in order to maintain their funding. Now, in response to the change in state law, the Black Male Achievers, a student organization at a community college in Tallahassee, Florida, they're now having to explore alternative names like Male Achievers or Scholar Male Achievers to ensure they continue to access necessary financial support. Florida's Stop Woke Act prohibits student groups from receiving state or federal government funds except for student activity fees. Now, the law, widely seen as part of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' anti-woke agendas, causing concern among the organization members, motivating them to respond to potential funding challenges. The law banning DEI programs went into effect on July 1st. Now, also happening in Florida, protesters rally against the state's controversial Black history teaching standards. Teachers, students, and activists took to the streets in Miami, folks, marching to the school board of Miami-Dade to voice their objections. Professor Marvin Dunn, who we had on the show yesterday, a psychology emeritus professor at Florida International University, organized the march. Protesters want board members to reject the new statewide standards requiring middle school teachers to instruct students about the benefits enslaved people allegedly gain from being enslaved. Florida is also facing a new federal lawsuit to block the anti-woke laws. The case filed by students and professors at New College in Florida names Florida Education Commissioner Manny Diaz, the Florida Board of Governors, and New College's trustees as defendants, accusing state officials of violating freedom of speech by creating overly broad laws which are unconstitutional and restrict speech on gender and queer identities, race, sociology, and feminist philosophy. Ron DeSantis claims diversity, equity, inclusion, and CRT programs are discriminatory, exclusionary, and a form of indoctrination. Now, check this out, folks. It's not just that. If you want to show a perfect example of some Black folks who love to, frankly, speak against Black people for their benefit, check this out. So, you know the district that oversees Disney World? Ron DeSantis has been fighting Disney. There was a lawsuit involving them. Well, guess what? You've got a Black man who is chair of this new district. Well, you know what he's decided? He's decided that, hey, you know what? We don't need these DEI initiatives. His name is Glenton Gilzine Jr. Glenton Gilzine Jr. Now, why is this important? Because this is the same Glenton Gilzine Jr. who again, for the last 7 years, has been head of the Orlando Urban League. Yeah, Orlando Urban League. Okay. Now I'm gonna show y'all who this guy is. Okay. I'm gonna show you exactly who this guy is. This is a photo of him right here. This is Glenton Gilzine. Let me pull it up. This is Glenton Gilzine Jr. And so what this group just did was they outlawed all DEI in this district where Disney is. But in addition to that, they also struck any race-based contracting in this particular area. Now, we reached out and wanted him on the show. And so we want him on the show. Still would love to get him on. I'm gonna show you this tweet. You guys are gonna laugh about this one. I saw this tweet today. This was from This is from this guy named Benny Jaquez, who happens to be a state representative, Florida District 59. He posted this tweet. It was great catching up with my friend Glenn Gilzine, the new administrator of the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, formerly the Reedy Creek District that was ran by Disney. Under his leadership, they've abolished all DEI programs and race-based contracting. The district is now accountable to the people and no longer a corporate kingdom. Way to go, Glenn. Now, again, the guy on the left, he ran the Orlando Urban League for 7 years. So quite interesting, Rebecca, that somebody who would be running the Orlando Urban League, and anybody who has gone to, I was at the National Urban League Convention this year, and they actually celebrated a number of DEI officers. And so here you have somebody who was being handsomely paid the last 7 years by Black people, supporting DEI, and now he gets a new job with DeSantis, and now, let's get rid of all DEI.
So I'm going to be very careful how I say this, but if you are Black in this country, whether or not you immigrated yesterday your family was here for generations, like my family has been here for generations, or whether you are a descendant of immigrants who've been here for a handful of generations. You need to understand the history of this country, and you need to understand the anti-Blackness in this country. Unfortunately for Glenn, his background is his grandparents immigrated over from Jamaica, and I really hope his grandparents really gave him the history of why they immigrated over here to the U.S. from Jamaica. I hope his family really talked about what it was like with the decolonization of Jamaica when Black folks took back over the country of Jamaica. But what's unfortunate is we have a lot of people in this country, even those who are descendants of folks who've been here for centuries, who do not understand the history of anti-Blackness in this country. So what happens in turn is that we now see Black faces being used as puppets by conservatives to push an anti-Black agenda. I know last week I mentioned I would not be surprised if Tim Scott becomes the candidate for the Republican Party. And the reason why I firmly still say that is because it is very convenient to have a Black face to push anti-Blackness as a way to further destroy Black communities in this country.
So check this out, folks. So this is what he stated when they made this announcement. He said, our district will no longer participate in any attempt to divide us by race or advance the notion that we are not created equal. This is what Gilzine wrote. As the former head of the Central Florida Urban League, a civil rights organization, I can say definitively that our community thrives only when we work together despite our differences. Now, guess what? Morial wasn't having any of that, so Morial blasted the decision. Quote, the National Urban League and our nationwide movement of more than 90 local affiliates are shocked and dismayed by Glenn Gilzine's betrayal of the values at the very core of our mission. Now, mind y'all, Gilzine, y'all, was the CEO of the Urban League in Central Florida from 2015 to May. So, June, July, August. Wow, it just took him 3 months to go, DEI is horrible. What were your ass saying the last 7 years, Glenn, when you would cash those Urban League checks? This is what Morial says. The National Urban League is more than a century. First of all, this is what Morial says. His rejection of diversity, equity, and inclusion principles is a rejection of the Urban League movement and the pursuit of racial justice itself. We vigorously and emphatically reject any implied association with Mr. Gilzine's current words or actions. His crass political expediency is all the more offensive given his previous vantage point to the harm he knows it will cause. Now, the story lays out here again, and so this is what they claim. They claim that according to an internal investigation, its previous leaders implemented hiring and contracting programs that discriminated against Americans based on gender and race, costing taxpayers millions of dollars. Now, here's what's laughable, okay? I guarantee you, Robert, that if they show the internal report, and we're going to ask for the so-called investigation, we're going to see largely white folks have been making all the money. And see, this is what I've been trying to tell everybody what's going on. And they will use a Black face in a white space to advance their initiatives. These people are going after everything. The Blum lawsuit, they're going after the Black venture, the Black Female Venture Fund in Atlanta. That's a part of it. Stephen Miller, they're going after Black law firms. They're going after Kellogg's in corporate America. These people want to attack any and every program that has tried to level the playing field for African Americans and others, and they're not going to stop. Black people must be prepared. If there is any program that's involving a school, that's involving education, that's involving corporate America, law, media, you name it, these folks are going to sue everybody because they want to stop any and all Black and minority advancement. And white women, y'all better speak y'all asses up because y'all are part of this too.
Well, Rolino, this very much looks like South Africa towards the end of apartheid, when you saw the ruling white class entrench themselves in the bureaucracy and use the court system in order to maintain economic power. Part of the reason for the social strife and economic division that we're seeing right now in Johannesburg and Durban and other areas of South Africa is because of that process. We're seeing that play out right now in America as we're in the last days of the white majority. These are the death whistles of them not going down without a fight. We saw the Supreme Court in the North Carolina and the Harvard decision saying that you cannot use race as a factor when it comes to college admission. If you look at the Colorado case with the website designer, people think that case was about gay people. It was not. It was about black people. Because if you can have a law saying that you can discriminate against homosexuals because it's against your religious values, the Ku Klux Klan is a Christian organization. It can be against their religious values to serve African Americans. You have the same equal protection 14th Amendment analysis for either. So we've already seen the Supreme Court decide on the side of segregation in these cases. Next term, we're going to see a frontal assault on the Commerce Clause and Dormant Commerce Clause, which allows federal action to regulate private enterprises, which happen in state. That's a long lawyerly way of saying the only reason you can't have segregated restaurants right now is because there's federal laws against it. If you have a state that doesn't have laws against that, within the next year to 2 years, that will no longer be illegal, and we will see the resegregation of America. They are now taking that same 14th Amendment analysis that we're seeing under equal protection that they used in the affirmative action cases and using that to attack diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in corporate America around the country. Remember, Florida is patient zero for many of these things. These companies, these governments are saying how far you can push it in Florida. And if it works in Florida, it will expand out to every other red state in the nation. We saw that with stand your ground laws. We've seen that with these constitutional carry laws. We've seen that with so many other initiatives, these 6-week abortion bans. They all start in red states like Florida, Georgia, Texas. And then if it works there, they can get it past the federal courts, then metastasize it through the entire system. And we'll see it matriculate across America if we don't nip it in the bud right now. So having these co-conspirators, these collaborators on their side, which are working towards their goals of resubjugating black folks for 30 pieces of silver, I think we understand exactly how this happens. You repeat these people every generation. He's the same person who put us on the boats to get here in the first place and took a little nice hefty ransom to go with it when we got started. And I think we have to understand what is going on and fight it at every corner.
Also, Scott, understand this same individual, he also is the chair of the African American History Task Force there in Florida. The same brother.
How ironic. How many pieces of silver?
It's not ironic.
How many pieces of silver did these two, you don't like me to use those words, let me stop. How many pieces of these American Negroes did they take? Do we know? Because they sure look like they're taking pieces of silver. This is one of the most ignorant things about this anti-DEI. And the ignorance is, if you look at Gil's own statement, the former executive director of the Urban League, he talks about our inability or our abilities will never be less than anyone else's, and we'll look like the same people, or we have the same, like these set-asides or affirmative action means that black people are underperforming in some way. And affirmative action in whatever field of human endeavor does not say that. That's not affirmative action. Affirmative action is evening the playing field to correct historical racial discrimination against a group of people, including brown people and white women, whether you agree with that or not. And so the basis for all of this, at least this getting rid of these DEI programs and set-asides, is just rooted in ignorance. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
But Scott, it gets better. Oh, it gets better. Because, see, you know there are receipts. Go to my iPad, Anthony. This story here. After axing diversity and inclusion programs, hypocritical statements discovered from Tourism Oversight District Administrator Glenton Gilzine. Now, mind you, he's getting paid $400,000 to be the administrator of this district. So, so check this out. Apparently this guy, Scott Maxwell, this guy, Scott Maxwell, found this here. And oh my goodness, what does it say? In an October 2021 Instagram post signed by Gilzine, he noted that he was proud of Disney's diversity and inclusion programs.
Oh yeah.
Quote,
oh yeah, no question about it.
Quote, I am proud that Disney has expanded its efforts to help countless Black-owned businesses and entrepreneurs through its supplier diversity program. It takes everyone in our community to work together to end generational poverty, and I am thankful that we have Disney leading the way. Oh, ain't that something? Ain't that something?
Bro, but you know,
wait, no, hold up. I ain't done. So again, what you have here is this nonsense here. And then, now the Urban League, this is funny. The Urban League on their website, they actually have this posted, Magic Diversity Game Changer, Glenton Gilzine. It's dated August 15th, 2023, which was yesterday. I'm not quite sure. And apparently, it lays out how he's been the creator's leader for stuff along those lines. Now, what's weird is they say, to read the full article, click here, and it was something dealing with the NBA. I hit Mark Morial to find out what's going on here. But this is what we're dealing with. Here's a Negro who now gets $400,000. So now he gets a check, and now his whole attitude, Scott, is, oh, we're going to shut this thing down for the rest of y'all Black people because I'm getting paid by DeSantis.
More ignorance. Let me tell you how much more ignorance is. That we know there's empirical data to support in corporate America, in educational communities, in boardrooms, in law firms, media, that diverse organizations that practice inclusion and diversity are more powerful organizations, more powerful corporations, develop better results, make more money, get better results. There's empirical data out there from a ton of research institutions and foundations, legitimate ones, that tell you this. So when you get rid of DEI, and since when did we become some race-blind community where all of a sudden in 2023, we're all even, they don't see race, and therefore there's this even playing field when socioeconomic and health numbers across the board, those disparities are real between white folks and Black and brown people. It's like the ignorance is ignoring the reality of that data, both in DEI data, better results, and the data of the socioeconomic and health disparities between these races. What is it? It's our fault that we simply can't measure up in these numbers, and therefore affirmative action is curing that? That's not affirmative action. It's all bullshit, man. And I'll tell you something else too. In Florida, that lawsuit about violating the First Amendment in regard to gay Americans, gay folks, Black people and brown people need to bring that same lawsuit, because I don't know how you get around that being a constitutional violation of your First Amendment, saying you can't say gay, you can't talk about Black, you can't talk about diversity, or a college institution, or rather a college organization, got to change their name under that law. Somebody's got to bring a lawsuit because it's all constitutional violations of our First Amendment, period.
But the thing that I'm trying to get us to understand here, Rebecca, is this is an all-out assault on Black progress. It's an assault on Black progress getting into college. It's an assault on getting jobs. It's an assault of being able to grow African-American wealth, and that's what they're trying to stop. Look, when Stephen Miller, that white nationalist, that white supremacist, when they sued to stop the Black farmers and Hispanic farmers from getting their money, $5 billion Congress set aside. Now, again, the white farmers got $25 billion. But then they're like, oh no, this program, the white farmers can apply for this. Hell, y'all had access to $25 billion. I just need everybody to understand. And again, all you simple Simon-ass people who are listening to these crazy yahoos on YouTube who don't know shit, when we're talking about voting and how these things matter, if you are and I ain't got no problem saying it, if you are a Black person who is considering voting for Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis or Greg Abbott or any of these Republicans, you, including Tim Scott, you literally are voting against black interests. I ain't got no problem saying it. Why? And I'm not basing this on emotion. I'm not basing it on anything but empirical data. Who are the individuals right now who are pursuing the anti-CRT, anti-DEI, anti-diversity, anti-multiculturalism? These are Republicans. It is the Republican Party. Pure and simple, y'all, in Florida, in Mississippi, in Alabama, in Louisiana, in Texas, in North Carolina, in South Carolina, in Tennessee, in Arkansas, and on and on and on. In Arkansas, it is Republican Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders who says we are going to keep paying for European history AP classes. We are not going to pay for African American studies AP classes. We can go on and on and on. Who are the people who are attacking affirmative action and admission policy? It is the Republican Party. And so, if you are black, and you right now are sitting here going, oh, you know what? I like the tax policy of Republicans. Well, guess what? If your ass are qualifying for 8A contracts on the federal level, if you're qualifying for contracts, city, county, state, school board, federal as well, they are coming for you. They are coming for your children. Do understand that. And so I need these ignorant folk, Rebecca, to understand that how you vote and how you not vote has a direct impact on the type of crap that happens here.
You know, Roland, I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to speak on behalf of my ancestors right now. You know what? You want to take back affirmative action? Cool. You want to take away DEI? Cool. Keep your little funky DEI, but run us our reparations then. If that's what we're going to do, let's cut a deal then. If you don't want affirmative action in this country, you don't want DEI programs in this country, then run us our money. Let's go ahead and cut that deal. The other thing, too, even thinking about the move to resegregate this country, bottom line, my ancestors never asked for integration. My ancestors asked for desegregation. And what desegregation means is equal access to economics and opportunities, equal access to be able to have housing, equal access to have opportunities to education, equal access to have economic opportunities in this country. That's what my family, that's what my ancestors asked for. We didn't ask for all this other stuff. So run us our money, and then let's desegregate.
And I'm real clear, Robert. I ain't playing footsie with none of these people. And I know there's some Simple Simon-ass fool watching who is saying, oh, here you go, just give our votes to the Democrats. No, what I'm saying is you challenge those, you push those, you prod those who you vote for, but this is not hard. This is real simple. And I'll be real clear. All them Negroes who were talking about, oh, man, Brian Kemp has done some good stuff for black people. I went and checked. Black folks were getting 1% of all Georgia state contracts. Please, by all means, show me how good Massa Kemp has been to us.
Well, look, Roland. One, you ain't tell me it's 400,000. I might sell some of y'all out for 400,000. That's a good little chunk of change. Some of y'all got to go. But look, for the people who are saying we need to have representation and the way you make changes to be on that side of the aisle, a couple weeks ago, Tim Scott and some of the other Republican candidates said to Ron DeSantis that your program of saying that there were bright sides to slavery, there were benefits to slavery, that's offensive to even us. You know, Tim Scott, the president of the Black Conservative Federation, a lot of black conservatives stood up to Tim Scott or stood up to Ron DeSantis on that. And what did Ron DeSantis say? Set your black ass up and get me some sweet tea. So what's the point of having a seat at the table when you're still getting treated as a second-class citizen? What exactly is the benefit of supporting some of these parts that the Republicans are standing up for when it comes down to this acid test of just simply a level of respect, a level of understanding you as a group, a level of being able to at least commiserate and push policies forward that will benefit your community? Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy are running to the right of Donald Trump. They're saying they will repeal the First Step Act. They're saying they will repeal the criminal justice reform that Donald Trump put in place. Vivint says he will repeal Juneteenth as a holiday. So when these people are running to the right of Donald Trump, running to the right of Mussolini, running to the right of many fascist dictators around the world, believe them when they say it to you. They are not joking. This is them being moderate, what they're saying out loud. This is the compromise position that they say on the campaign trail. So if they ever get into the office, they will be going far further to the right than this in a way that will be dangerous to all of us. And I think people have to understand that right now when you're looking at programs like this, the same way that after the war you had so many people down in Argentina talking about, well, I was just following orders, it wasn't really me. That's the way these people are going to act who helped Ron DeSantis during this process of trying to resegregate Florida.
I need everybody hearing the sound of my voice to understand what I'm telling y'all right now.
What you telling me?
Why did I write my book, White Fear? Because it comes down to the money. It comes down to black progress. Y'all, you literally have white men like Ed Bloom suing this fund in Atlanta. Right now, y'all, black people, not black women, not black men, black people, period, get less than 2% of all venture capital funds in America. And they suing this group because they want to target black women-led businesses. We get less than 2%. They like, man, that 2% is just too much. Oh, that 2% is just too much. We can't have that. Again, I need y'all to hear what I'm saying. On a federal level, black people are getting 1.67% of all federal contracts. $560 billion annually in federal contracts. Black businesses get 1.67%. And they saying, ooh, them Negroes getting way too much money. I need y'all to understand, this is what they're saying. And they keep saying, oh, what's fair, what's fair. And again, but y'all notice, see again, so remember when Deanna Bass was here and I was talking about, oh, you're calling yourself pro-life? No, you're really anti-abortion? So when they say equal, we are equal, well then let's show equal in other areas. So you can't deprive us of health resources, education resources, economic resources, and then go, oh no, we're all equal, we're all the same. What you are witnessing, y'all, I'm telling you, and a bunch of black people are walking around dazed and confused, and there are Negroes like Glenn Gilzine who are like, I'm a superior Negro, so the rest of you should be doing better. Well, Glenn, there's a whole bunch of us who are smart, who are talented, but we also understand that the magical Negro doesn't exist. And there was that one black person post-slavery, and that was that one black person during Jim Crow who white folks love to prop up. And guess what? A lot of us were still getting screwed. All of y'all watching, I'm trying to explain to y'all voting and how the dots are connected, understand what's going on here. Right now, in Virginia, there are elections in November. All seats in Virginia. Democrats are 3 seats away from controlling the House. They control the Senate by 1 seat. Oh, Republican Glenn Youngkin is the governor, but Louise Lucas controls the Senate. If Democrats take control of the House, Don Scott becomes House Majority Leader. Lucas is black, Scott is black. Now here's where some of y'all right there just got lost. Because I see some of y'all, man, some fool here talking about, we need to separate. Where your ass going? You can't even move to the country and escape white folk. The thing I need people to understand is this here. And again, this is when y'all gotta stop listening to stupid people who get stuck on stupid by saying, oh, here you go, saying we should vote for the Democrats. is two parties, Republican, Democratic Party. Which of the two parties are you likely going to get what's on the black agenda? It's only two. All y'all hollering third party, that shit cute. It's cute, but it ain't gonna happen. I'm just trying to tell y'all, it ain't gonna happen. It's cute. And I'm not saying ignore the Republicans. I dare any Republican candidate to come sit with black people and say your agenda. But this is what I want to know, Robert. This is what I want to know, Rebecca. This is what I want to know, Scott. If any Republican that comes to sit before black people, I want black people to ask them a series of questions. First, do you support expansion of voting rights, or do you support the current efforts of the Republican Party to constrict voting rights? That's number one. Number two, do you support ballot drop boxes, or are you against it? Do you support the expansion of polling locations, or are you against it? I want to hear those questions asked first. I want to hear questions asked specifically about the growth of black businesses. I want to hear questions specifically about resources being added specifically for the children who are most in need educationally. I didn't say black kids. I said check the data. Where is the greatest need? Are you willing to put more resources into those areas? I want, because see, if y'all read Randall Robinson's book, The Debt, he talked about this here where Maynard Jackson said we need to come up with basically the black agenda and put it on a card that can fit in everybody's wallet. So anytime a politician came, we could say, do you support this, 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 this? And see what they say. So again, I'm not saying don't consider Republican. What I am saying is ask them a series of questions that goes beyond your personal pocketbook. I can tell you right now, when you ask those questions, it ain't gonna go well for Republicans. Now, the Democratic candidate may not agree with you on all your issues. But, Scott, Rebecca, Robert, if I'm asking a series of questions, and I got 10 issues, and the Republican agrees with me on 1 out of 10, and the Democrat agrees with me on 5 out of 10, I am not going to say they are equal, because the math just don't math. And that right there, Rebecca, I think is the problem when people say, oh, both the lesser of two evils. This real simple. If I got 10 asked, one says I'm down with 1, one says I'm down with 5, common sense says I should go with the person who down with me on 5, because 5 is better than 1. And I can push the 5 to get to 10, but it's a long-ass haul to get to 1 to get to 5, much less 10.
Roland, that decision calculus is a decision calculus based upon survival. I also, as a community, understand that the Black community is not a monolith. We make up many different communities. We have different stories and different journeys with how we got to this country. Something else that we have to think about beyond survival is how do we thrive? How do we go from surviving to thriving? And so we also need to figure out which party, which group, which politician is going to cut a deal with us. Because bottom line, we need to survive as a community, but we also need to thrive as a community. We need to increase Black wealth in this country instead of being severely outpaced by white folks in this country. We need to decrease the pay equity gap in this country. We need to make sure that Black entrepreneurs have access to capital. We need to make sure that our Black kids actually have quality education. We know the majority of public school students are students of color, and there's a lot of Black students. And then we see in states like Arkansas states like Florida, these public schools no longer want to teach Black history. So we also need to be cutting a deal and demand the best education that our Black kids can receive. So there's a lot of things. It's great if Democrats want to give us 5 out of 10. It's horrible if Republicans only want to give us 1 out of 10. But bottom line, I even want to go higher, because I think that's the baseline for votes. But if you actually want us to get out and support, then we need to know who's going to cut a deal with us, a deal that has generational impact and not just impact on the next election.
All I'm trying to get the people to understand, Scott, is elections have consequences. And what I'm not interested about, I'm not interested in you bitching after the fact if you were never in the game when you could have made a difference.
Exactly. I'd add to that list in regard to that card you talked about. I'd add values, right? Who shares my values or the values of Black America? Because what you don't want to do is say just vote straight Democrat or vote for Black Democrats, because there's some Black Democrats out here who don't share our values, don't agree with that list, right? And so I don't put the race question into who I vote for. I make it a value question. If you share my values and you aren't Black, you're brown, you're white, you're yellow, you're red, then that's who I want to support, because I know even if there's 5 out of 10, if he shares or she shares my values, then I got a shot at the other 5, quite frankly. At least that's my process for thinking. But I don't know why we can't get Black people to vote, as you say, vote more. Not that they don't vote. I still say vote. I'll add vote more. But why it's so hard for Black people to vote up and down the ballot, to vote in every election? It's such an easy thing to do, and yet we just don't do it. And that's why we're in this third Reconstruction, as you say often, and why we are suffering. I mean, I often say in 2043, we're going to be a country of color. That's incredible fact for us. But is Black America ready to lead and to be a country of color and to lead this democracy, this experiment of ours, right, which we will be in control of from a voting standpoint? And I fear not, or I fear that from the socioeconomic and healthcare disparity standpoint, not only are we not ready, but more importantly, we don't have a consciousness about leading and voting and what that means for our communities of color. That's where the work needs to be done between now and 2043, in my opinion.
Here's the whole deal, Robert. And I think, and again, I see these people, they run little miles in the chat room talking about, oh, you know what, you don't support this, you don't support that. Look, it's real simple. And again, and I'm going to say this again to anybody who keeps yelling reparations. You can't get reparations from policy makers unless you change the politicians who are setting the policy.
Yes.
So if your simple ass ain't voting, you are guaranteed never to get it. It's like 100% guarantee. So it's like, Robert, the dumbass who said, I ain't voting for the president because the Electoral College, that's who they picked the president. So until they change the Electoral College, I ain't voting. Dumbass, the Electoral College is in the Constitution. You got to vote to change the Constitution. And the vote comes in the House and the Senate, signed by the president, then it's ratified by the states. So guess what? Your simple ass ain't gonna never change the Electoral College because your dumb ass don't vote for the people who could change the law of the Electoral College. That's how stupid some of these people are, Robert.
Roll, I need you to get on some edibles real quick. You got to calm that down.
No, that shit ain't never happened right there. Hell no. Yeah. I want to be in full control of all of my faculties.
Just some nice sativa, just calm it down just a little bit. But look, Roland, I've found that in the last few years, for some reason, conservatives have started taking famous quotes from civil rights leaders and then perverting them to their own causes. First, we saw them take the quote-unquote "I have a dream" speech and then just kind of narrow it down to the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And then I started seeing Mike Huckabee and other conservatives use that to justify taking away diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Ron DeSantis using that quote to justify getting rid of affirmative action and taking away CRT, as he calls it, programs. Now the new one that we've seen black conservatives using is they take a quote from Malcolm X where he says, you put Democrats first and they put you last because you're political chumps. And they take that one little bite out and use that as a justification for saying why black folks don't need to be voting for the Democratic Party. You can just literally rewind that clip about 45 seconds. And what Malcolm is actually saying is that any group that can use their vote in a block, any group that's able to put together their votes and is able to be that swing vote in any election has tremendous political power. He talks about the fact that in 1960, the election was basically tied. He said it was tied so much they had to go to a recount, then it got counted over again after that. And if we hold our votes and make sure that we're using it as a block to negotiate between both parties, then we have the opportunity to make real changes. Right now, the only party that's negotiating with us is the Democratic Party. I would love it if the Republican Party would come over and start negotiating with us. I want Republicans to start saying, I'm a 1865 Republican. Say, I'm a radical Reconstructionist Republican. Campaign on the same platform that Senator Stevens campaigned on back in the 1864 election. Start talking about Sherman's Field Order number 15 and what you're going to do for African Americans. It's not as if they, as a grand old party, they didn't used to hold these ideas. But instead of talking about that, you only hear about these broad neoconservative social warfare terms that they want to fight these elections over. And unfortunately, there's a lot of folks in our community that fall into the culture war arguments. You're anti-immigrant, so therefore you say you want to vote Republican. You're anti-woman, and you want to restore the good old nuclear family where women were in the kitchen cooking dinner 5 nights a week, and therefore you vote Republican. You don't like gay people, and your daughter just came out as being non-binary, so now you want to vote and support Ron DeSantis. Get over the culture war and vote in your own interest. And unless Republicans are willing to be 1865 Republicans, they don't really have anything to say right now because the 2023 version appears to be very similar to the 1919 version when Woodrow Wilson was in the White House.
I'm going to close this out with this. I got some fool on Instagram, on YouTube saying, Vitaman, V-I-T-A-M-A-N. Wrong, rolling wrong. If they know you're going to vote for them anyway, do you think they're going to give you what you want? Let me tell you how stupid you are. This ain't going to take long. Chris Spencer up next. This ain't going to take long at all. First of all, you simple Simon ass, there's a process that's called the primary and the general. Okay? So you can vote for who you desire in the primary. Now, if there's a Democrat who is not doing what the community wants, we can vote that person out in the primary and vote our person in, and then vote for them again in the general. So there's a way to hold people accountable who are not doing what the community desires. We see it all the time. There are people who are challenged in primaries all the time, and they lose. That's what the whole system is. So that's just stupid. The last point is this here, and y'all have heard me say this. Elections are end of one process and the beginning of another. So when the election is over, then we got to be on their ass. Just writing letters, calling, emailing, because you have to now pressure them to do what's right. You got to show up at their town hall meetings. You got to be in their face, because guess who does that? The other side, the other folk who disagree with you. Too many of us check out of the process. And I know this because my mama and daddy were involved in the civic club growing up. I participated as a kid traveling to Austin, Texas on a bus with the Metropolitan Organization and my mama when they had rallies on the weekends. I spoke before the city council when I was in the 10th grade. I saw with my own eyes how regular, ordinary people, folk who didn't go to college, who didn't have college degrees, my mom and daddy combined ain't never made more than $50,000 combined in their whole life. So don't try to say, well, you probably came from, hell no, I ain't come from no damn money at all. But what I saw were people who gave a shit about their families and gave a damn about their neighborhood and were willing to be involved politically. And so, yeah, I was 8 and 9 and 10 handing shit out at the polls on election day because mama and daddy were involved. They ran phone banks and were involved in campaigns. So when I'm telling y'all what we have to do, I'm not sitting here speaking from some theoretical 30,000 feet high-ass position. I'm telling you what I have experienced my entire life from when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Saw it with my own eyes. And so when we say our communities are not changing, it's also because too many of us have given up and we have checked out and we are waiting on somebody else to be the savior to come save us. And what we should do is abide by what MLK said on April 3rd, 1968, that when black people move as a collective, then collectively we can get things changed. You better start, because I'm telling y'all, we on the clock. And what the Republicans have in store for black people, if they control the Senate next year, and if they control the House, and they control the White House, I can guarantee you, if you pissed off now what's happening in Florida, you're going to be real pissed because they're going to try to put this stuff in place across the whole country. We'll be right back.
You go into a barbershop in a 700 credit score neighborhood, black or white, they're talking about their ideas and they're talking about how they're going to move on those things. You go to a barbershop at a 500 credit score, equal brilliance, but bad culture, they're talking about other people. You go to a winner's barbershop, here's what I'm doing. You go to the barbershop of where people feel defeated, they talk about other people, either celebrities or people they admire, but also often, I don't like Joe. I don't like Roland Martin. Well, let me tell you something. I don't understand people. How could you not like anything here you see? You should just be like, this is amazing. It's cool. You may not even like how he does it or how I do it, but it's like, you know what? They're succeeding. They're killing it. All you should be is, that's fantastic. But if I don't like me, I'm not gonna like you. If I don't feel good about me, it's hard for me to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And here's the big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm gonna make your life a living hell.
Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Coles.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
Yo, it's your man Deion Cole from Blackish, and you watch
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
All right, folks, a new movie drops on Friday. It is called Back on the Strip. And it is directed by a reformed stripper, Chris Spencer. He's a comedian, he's a writer, he's an actor, and so the new movie comes out. Man, stop adjusting the damn camera. You're bouncing over there. Look at you like your head bobbing.
People are yelling at me to move. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, look, we done had you connected for the last 20 minutes. I mean, you got that.
Listen, hearing you ran, I'm like, you should run for president.
Oh, hell no, it's a pay cut. Then we was called.
At least you ain't got to show your taxes.
Then we was called Back on the Strip. Here's a preview.
You're all set. You guys are going on last because you had the best audition.
You must be talking about us. Ghetto gangsters in the house. Ooh. We ain't just rappers, we gangsters. We come from the streets.
Beverly Hills.
Sit your down somewhere.
Ladies, I'm gonna give you what you all been waiting for.
Are you out of your god mind? Excuse me, Lord.
Oh, you got the me.
Those old ran at my highest bar tab in weeks.
Sometimes you just wanna get wild.
All I asked was to hang with my girls. It's time to hang with the guys.
So if I was here and we're in effect, want you to push it back.
Is the stripper brushing her hair? That's my kind of trick.
Woo! Bumping and grinding. Push it. Push it.
What the hell? This smells like Now and Laters and hood rat push.
Push it real good.
How did I not know this dude was white?
Doc is out.
Why am I out? I loved being black. Being white is so boring. You ever try to stay awake, watch an episode of The Crown?
Those ladies were way more handsy than even in our day. They got me pacing back and forth, talking to the Lord right now.
You ready for round two? Stop crying! Stop crying!
All right, Chris Spencer joins us now. Chris, glad to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
You know, gives my better judgment. We'll see, because it was a drop you recorded, and you actually had the nerve to question. So that's why I wore my Alpha shirt today, because you said something. Y'all find that drop when Chris was talking some trash about me being an alpha, and then got my age completely wrong. Because, I mean, I know you pushing 70, but it's all good. So
I got your age wrong?
You got all of that. Yeah, you. No, we're going to play it for you, because I meant to text you about it, but then I said, well, when I get him on the show, I'm going to ask him about it. It's all good, though. So let's talk about Back on the Strip.
Yes, sir.
Who let you direct?
Society. This independent company called GVN, a good friend of mine, not a good friend of mine, he's a good friend of mine now. Gino Taylor read the script, noticed my talents, and the script was actually written by myself and my writing partner, Eric Daniel, and they're like, who's going to direct this fantastic script? And my writing partner was like, Chris. And I was like, yep. And that's kind of how it happened.
So you directed and you wrote it as well?
And produced it.
And produced
with my wife.
So you trying to be Tyler Perry?
Something like that. A Wayans, minimum of Wayans.
well, plus if they go ahead and you know, if you do all of that, that means they can say we can pay you less. You get one check.
Maybe I should break up for money purposes.
Yeah, you should be getting 3 separate checks. And he said you produced it with your wife?
Yes, produced it with my wife, who was basically the glue throughout this whole project, because, you know, as an independent, and, you know, a lot of things happen, you know what I mean? And so she was right there. I don't even want to, I guess I could say, sometimes in front of me. Sometimes we say they're by your side. She was in front of me, and I was like, please help. And so her expertise in the business, along with this incredible crew and cast of other people, made for an incredible ride, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
So were the times when she was like, Chris, let me holler at you?
Yeah.
And you were over there going,
Because you know what? Sometimes you need that person to go, remember the dude I told you I don't trust? He doing something right now. I'm like, thanks, babe. Always got my back. Remember I told you what shit? Well, he's doing some age shit right now.
Now, typically when you're doing something on your own, first-time director, you had to call in some favors.
Yes.
And so when it came to casting, did you have to sit here and say, all right, some of y'all owe me, so bring your ass to the movie?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, most of them actually said yes before they even read the script. I told them the concept, and they were like, yo, this is something I want to do. I love to work with you. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, JB Smoove, of course, you know, from Real Husbands of Hollywood, as well as Faison and Tiffany. We've been knowing each other forever. Gary and Bill, I've known them 25, almost 30 years. And Tiffany, I've known since she was 15 years old. So a lot of those were no-brainers that we would all work together again. Wesley was the one, although I've known him, you know, actually the producers brought him to the table.
Really?
And yeah, it was great. They already had a relationship. They had done films before. Wesley, of course, I've known for years. And they told him about the project, and he actually said yes before reading the script.
Now, the problem is when you know so many people, everybody can't be in. So did you have to deal with some folks who like, say, Chris, what's up, bro? Couldn't get a call?
Till today. And sometimes I've had, you know, of course, they all know about your tongue. I, too, have a sharp tongue. So many of them was like, yo, why you ain't put me in the movie? I was like, why ain't nobody put you in any movie? But that's just only after they badgered me so much. But I'm like, listen, this is my first of hopefully many. So hopefully I will be in a seat where I'll have a bigger budget and I can have a different cast and you can be a part of it. But right now, these are the guys that fit this role. There was nothing for you in this project.
Gotcha. Well, see, you were nice about it. Because I didn't.
A couple of them I had to go, well, you know you're not good.
Look,
you should really go back to school.
Look, sometimes you got to be honest with people. Let's see here. Questions from my panel. Let's see who I think probably is the most ignorant one. Well, the most ignorant one on the panel is Scott, but probably the most ignorant one with humor. I'm going to tell you right now, Chris, if you ever need somebody in a movie who is a gun nut aficionado, feel free to call Robert Patillo. You do not need to call the prop department because he got everything from a 22 to a bazooka. I guarantee, Chris.
That ain't Alec Baldwin. That's not Alec Baldwin's guy, is it?
No, I guarantee you, Robert got an AK-47 sitting under his chair right now.
Assault rifle.
Why do you think I just have random AR-15s around just sitting places?
Cause your ass do. Right, boom. Hey, watch this, Chris. Watch this, Chris. Watch this, Chris.
Damn.
It's Robert's panic room. He does this every week.
Look at that shit, Roland. Look at that. That's crazy.
Oh my God.
Look, we're in Georgia.
Listen,
these microphones might come any day.
Say it again, Chris. Say it again, Chris.
If you got that many guns, it's time to move.
He in Georgia, Chris.
Oh,
the whole point of being in Georgia is to be able to have our wonderful governor to pass these nice laws. So if the MAGA start acting up after Trump goes to jail, everybody will be ready and prepared just in case. But I did have a question about one: does JB Smoove have a deal with the devil? How is he in everything at all times? He's Caesar. He's doing every movie, every TV show. He seems to just be in the background everywhere on Earth.
Because he's so good. You know what I mean? There was a time when people were saying the same thing about Sam Jackson and, of course, Kevin Hart. When you're good, you're wanted, and people, they want you, and you're needed, and your talent, you know, is usually what they're dying to expose and actually enhance their projects. And that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely. And I just love the fact you were able to bring all these artists together. How did you get all these, one, egos, but two, schedules to line up to get this much talent into this movie?
The egos were no problem because we've known each other for over 25, 30 years. So we know who ain't shit and we know who is shit and we know who to respect. We know we all respect each other. We love each other. Comedy, we're a big fraternity and we all respect each other and love each other. In terms of schedules, that was rough, I must admit. But my wife, who was also the casting director, along with the line producer, and the first AD, they had a tough time trying to, because all of them are stand-ups. So they made a lot of money or missed out on a lot of money from gigs they had to turn down to do the movie.
Now, y'all shot the movie in Vegas?
Yes, in Vegas. It was 101 degrees.
And how many days?
20 days.
20 days. Got it. Rebecca.
Chris, thank you so much for being on tonight. You spent many years being a screenwriter, and oftentimes on the show we talk about pay equity. So in light of the WGA striking, what does pay equity look like for Black screenwriters in Hollywood?
What is the exact definition of pay equity?
Well, you define it.
Okay. So right now we're not being treated fairly. And let me give you an example. I have a show called Real Husbands of Hollywood. It aired first on BET. It now can be seen on Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, and a few other streamers. Have I gotten another check for that? No. So that's why we're out there striking, because there's some things that are going on that are unfair.
So you got paid when it aired originally, but
Yes.
when it gets resold to the other streamers, you don't get any residuals?
I have not yet. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah. Now, and listen, there was a point where I understood, like, okay, it's under the Viacom umbrella. So when it was on MTV and Comedy Central, I heard, yeah, you're probably not gonna get any money because it's under this umbrella. But when it started going to these other places, that's when I started to go, something's wrong. And something is very unfair. Because how are people paying a premium price for the show that I did over here, and I'm not getting anything from it? And that's a lot of why we are striking.
All right. Scott.
Hey, Chris, congratulations on the movie. Scott Bolden here. We met with Turk and Steve Capers. We're great friends with them.
Man, that's the damn question.
Oh, will you leave me alone?
When you're setting the stage, oh, I met you here, I met you there, we took a photo, we were at Martha's Vineyards together.
That's where we met, actually.
Exactly. Stop it, Roland.
Damn.
So, you got your directorial debut. I knew you were writing, but on the stand-up comedian space, are you still going to do stand-up, or are you going to kind of focus
As a matter of
on writing and directing?
As a matter of fact, I just shot my comedy special called Yellow Belt, which is actually, we're in the process of right now figuring out who's going to give me the best deal. But of course, this strike has slowed everything down. But stand-up is number one. That is my first love.
Yeah. Are you all going to bring the Influencers Brunch back to D.C. for CBC weekend? We haven't done it in a couple of years.
Yeah, Turk Stevens and I, we plan on taking it all over the country, if not the world. It's been very, very successful in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And you do remember how well we did in the D.C. area, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have you decided that one thing you're not going to do again, that is host your own show, or do you want a second bite at the apple?
I definitely would love a second bite at the apple.
And for those who don't know, Chris, what was the show Vibe? Is that what it was?
Yes, sir.
Guy, how long did that show last?
It was long enough to go and instead of Vibe. Actually, you remember, I did 11 weeks, which is roughly 55 shows, and then Sinbad came and took it over.
Ah, got it. Now people, it's one, like for a long time, people kind of like, oh my God, Chris Spencer was an awful show host. But again, though, what people don't understand is it's a different animal when you
go back and watch, and you'll go, he was actually pretty good. What I was bad at, Roland, was the monologue, because you and I are storytellers, and also, although we tell jokes, it's hard to read a joke. Jay Leno, guys who are straight monologists, that was in their rhythm. My rhythm is more of a shit talker. And so as I started to become better at reading the prompter and making it my own, I got fired.
But it also goes to what I'll say. It goes to the problem is when you have a formula, how it should be done. And I think that is always the mistake that people make, and they don't want to get out of that rigid system.
Yes.
I mean, it was sort of like I had somebody in the studio. They were kind of like, so you don't really read the prompter, do you? I'm like, nah, that's a guide. I'm like, so if I don't want to, I don't have to. And I remember when I been at CNN, that was the original vision. I called it a scripted, unscripted show. And my deal is, get out of, it has to be this way. I'm like, if stuff flow, let it flow. And that's the problem. And so, again, and look, that was a long time ago when you hosted the show. And that's one of the problems. I think now it's not as rigid. And so people are, it's about a lot more free flowing. And I think that helps. But that's always part of the problem when there's a rigid system.
Like imagine if Allen Iverson had to play for Bobby Knight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that wasn't gonna work out.
It's not gonna work out.
Well, hell, I remember. Look, David Edwards, God rest his soul, when he played for Georgetown, John Thompson told him, "Do not dribble between your legs," and that was his thing. He came and played ball at Texas A&M, but that was his thing. So some cats are like that. So it's always a matter of flowing. Last question: when you did this movie here, obviously, when you are a writer, you want folks to pay attention. You also are directing, so you can't waste time because time is money. How much freedom did you give your folk to free flow when they saw the opportunity?
Well, I learned this from Keenan Ivory Wayans. He would say, listen, give me the first take as written.
Got it.
And then play. And you got to imagine, I have Bill Bellamy, Faison, Gary Owen, Tiffany, J.B. Smoove. They're all improv magicians. So many times I was like, yo, you could just go on the first take, especially now that we have 20 days and we got to get the hell out of here. And then Wesley Snipes, it was just like, we were all in awe of basically working with the GOAT. But what was great about him was he actually looked up to us too. You know what I mean? Like, he knew all the, although we knew him, but it was mostly in the clubs or, in the gym. But he actually, he watches TV too. He enjoys comedy too. He's seen everybody's comedy specials. He watched Def Jam, Comic View. He's seen us on sitcoms. So when we were like, Wesley, he'd be like, yo, that thing you did on blah, blah, blah. Yo, I love that. And we like, Wesley knows me.
Oh, yeah. No, people are real. I mean, he watches this show. I sent him a text for his birthday. Yeah. And again, you like recounting segments. And so you sort of forget that, guess what? Other folk watch too. And so
we love seeing each other. As bad as people talk about Tubi, we be watching Tubi. Or you wouldn't be able to quote it.
Good point. All right, so they found a drop where you were talking a little trash. I don't even know where they shot this. Go ahead and roll it.
Damn place, okay?
Okay, hold on, guys. Sorry, y'all. The audio was low. Come on, restart it. Let's have the audio full up. Let's go.
When you are now.
Come on, get the audio full up.
You ain't gotta wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay. All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
When you are now watching.
All right. That's what
Listen, now, how funny would it have been if I would have said you're 48? No.
Well, first of all, that's factually incorrect because I'm 54.
Yes,
so.
But guess what? I shot that 6 years ago.
Huh? Yes. And so...
I know you're younger than me. I know you're 1 year younger than me.
And I figured I would see...
It was called a joke.
And I figured I'd see you at Sid's... you going to be in Cabo?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. And so just do understand, it's going to be all black and gold. So, I mean, I was going to do something else, but I said, Chris going to be there, so it's going to be the black and gold golf bag, the outfit, all that.
There you go.
All that.
Yeah, listen, nobody can say that you don't come out stylish. Now, they might not like your style, but you still be stylish.
And I don't give a damn?
You have not yet to give a damn.
I have never given a damn.
You ain't got no kente cloth or some Royal Regal Ugandan wear and made into some golf clothes.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
So I'm gonna have to break that out for you next time.
You do have some. Okay.
Oh yeah, let's break it out. First of all, look, my fans send me all kind of stuff. So I know somebody right now is working on a kente pattern golf bag. It's happening.
Ooh. Okay.
It's happening. You know it's happening. All right.
We need two.
Oh, now we need two. Okay, gotcha. All right. Folks, the movie's called Back on the Strip. It hits theaters on Friday.
August 18th.
August 18th.
Go big or go home. That's our moniker.
Y'all know how important it is the first weekend. I'm going to be in L.A. tomorrow because I'm going to play golf Friday with Darius Rucker. and I'm gonna go to his concert. So I may go check it out on Saturday. So may have. So are you gonna do what some people do? You gonna be theater hopping?
Yes, sir. We're gonna actually buy out a theater in Inglewood or somewhere. I believe it's Inglewood or the old Magic Johnson, and then I'm gonna go boom, 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 and just hear and wave at folks and shake hands. And
No. I'm going to a movie theater where white people are, so because I want to actually hear the follow-up joke. Because see, with black people, when you go to a comedy, you cannot go see a movie with a whole bunch of black people because you literally are going to miss the joke or the dialogue after the joke. And you gotta see it twice.
But as a comedic writer, that's what I want to hear this time. I didn't heard the joke. I want to hear them talk to the screen.
Well, I don't sit next to them. Shut your ass up. I'm trying to hit a damn movie. I do hate people who talk during movies. It drives me.
You ever get mad at somebody talking at the movie screen and then find yourself doing it? Will you shut up?
No, I don't do that. No, I'm gonna tell you how crazy I am. I don't know if Scott has done this here. Robert, he probably point guns at people. But when our family gets together, I hate watching movies with the rest of my family, and they watch it right now, and they all know. I remember when Barbershop came out. You know them big old spotlights that you keep in your car when your car break down. Mm-hmm. Anytime somebody in the family talked, I would hit their ass with the spotlight, and it was one of them like really bright lights. I probably hit my mama about 6, 8 times. I was like, "Mama, stop talking." I'm telling you,
hysterical.
So, dude, I leave the room. Dude, I can't stand. I like y'all talk too damn much. They talk too much. Who does it? Scott, Robert, Rebecca, y'all ain't got no family members who talk. They talk too damn much. And then it's like, what happened? Because you were talking. That's why you asking what happened.
No. Hey, Rolly, you know what I do? If you're at home watching it, I just keep rewinding it back.
No.
Just rewind it
Hell
back.
no. No. Hell no. We got to do that for my daddy because he'll fall asleep. He'll come back. I'm like, hey. When rewind? Hey, dog, y'all don't understand. Y'all don't understand. I got so frustrated. I said, fuck it. I went to the other room and said, look, I ain't watching nothing with y'all.
That's funny.
I can't.
Look, Roland, I have advice. Look, Roland, just a piece of advice for married men. Whenever you're watching a series with your wife, just make sure you pre-watch every episode that comes out, then re-watch it with her as it's the first time that you've ever seen it. Because you have to stop every 3 minutes to talk about what just happened, or now she's seen something, or there's usually a side quest or a side story somewhere in there and out. Pre-watch everything. It makes life easier.
Hey, Robert, let me explain something to you. We don't watch the same damn shows. Okay? See, we done already saw that problem. Two, I got 7 viewing stations in my house. So we ain't gotta watch no TV together. You can watch over there, 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 1st floor. I'm good. Now, we ain't doing all that.
There's not one show y'all watch together?
Hell no. She be watching all them SIs, CSIs, NCISs, all them damn shows. She's like, I don't like your shows. Perfect. Holla at you later.
See, Rolly, this is where you're supposed to say, we watch the Black Star Network together every night. See, right there, just slide that in there.
Hey, guess what? We don't watch the Black Star Network together because I'm actually working. We ain't doing it. So, no. So, yeah, I don't know. See, Chris, you and your wife work on a movie together. Yeah, that couldn't happen.
Listen, it just came to fruition after, we started doing we had a podcast called Date Night.
Oh, I remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you guys were on it. And I was like, yo, I actually like you.
Wait a minute. Y'all got to say, when we did the podcast, I was saying some stuff. Chris' wife was like, don't your ass listen to him. She was like, do not listen. And Chris was sitting here like, how in the hell is he getting away with all this? It's like, totally different. That's it. All right, listen, I got to go, Chris.
Appreciate you, man.
Good luck. We're back on the strip. And next time, don't be telling me my people reached out. I'm just going to leave y'all with this here. Scott, Robert.
Hold on a second. Because many times things fall through the cracks. So if they can keep the schedule right, then I don't have to worry about, oh, shit, I should have, you know what I mean?
No, I understand. So let me tell you what happens. Yesterday, I'm talking to Payne Brown, and Payne Brown says, hey, Roland, by the way, do you know Chris Spence? I'm like, yeah, I know his ass. he's like, hey, he got a movie coming out. It'd be great to get him on the show. I'm like, I text his ass on some other bullshit all the time. He ain't say nothing about, yo, let me come on and discuss the movie.
Now listen.
And so then he put this week. So Payne sent a group text. Me and Chris, I was like, yeah, you can come on tomorrow. And he's like, oh yeah, my people was supposed to be handling. I was like, did his ass just hit me with my people?
Sorry.
I was like, yeah, he'll come on. I said, but I'm gonna go ahead and let him know. I said, next time, just text the brother.
Here's what's crazy. If there's an audience that's tailor-made for this damn movie, it's yours. So that won't happen again when I do Back on the Strip 2.
All right. Again, folks, watch Back on the Strip. Hits the theaters on Friday. Chris Spence, I appreciate it, bro. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you. And bye, everybody else on the panel.
Scott, Rebecca, Robert, I appreciate y'all being on the panel. Thanks a bunch. I saw some photos of Scott, your ass on Martha's Vineyard with your little cappers. So, you know, whatever. I mean, I can say
grown-ass men, baby, and we were looking good.
Actually, I was looking a little raggedy. Just letting y'all know. So just y'all were looking a little raggedy. So, you know, but you're not alphas, and so look, you can't be that great. All right, y'all.
You're past 8 p.m. We need to go.
First of all, stop talking, see. I ain't cuss you out about 3 weeks, Scott. So, you know, I mean, I've been real nice. I mean, do not allow me to revert back to the old ways. All right. I see y'all later. We're gonna go to a break. We come back. We're gonna quick play the Reggie Hutland interview for the Black Godfather as we celebrate Clarence Avant, who passed away Sunday at the age of 92. We'll be right back on Roll About Unfiltered.
Question for you. Are you stuck? Do you feel like you're hitting a wall and it's keeping you from achieving prosperity? Well, you're not alone. On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, you're going to learn what you need to do to become unstuck and unstoppable. The fabulous author Janine K. Brown will be with us sharing with you exactly what you need to do to finally achieve the level of financial success you desire through your career.
Because when I talk about being bold in the workplaces, I'm talking about that inner boldness that you have to take a risk, to go after what you want, to speak up when others are not.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
On a next A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking all things mental health and how helping others can help you. We all have moments where we have struggles, and on this week's show, our guests demonstrate how helping others can also help you. Why you should never stop giving and serving others on a next A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network.
Hi, my name is Freddie Ricks. I'm from Houston, Texas.
My name is Sharon Williams. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me? Entertainment mogul Clarence Avant died on Sunday at the age of 92. In 2019, Reggie Hutland produced and directed a Netflix documentary called The Black Godfather. It was the first time many people even knew who Clarence Avant was, how he impacted the careers and lives of so many different people. I was at the American Black Film Festival that year where I did a Q&A with Reggie. After the Q&A, he and I sat down for a conversation about The Black Godfather, and here it is. I hope you enjoy. Let's talk about Black Godfather, Reggie Hutland. This is, first of all, an absolutely amazing documentary. And what I love is for someone, I know Clarence, you know Clarence, but for that person out there who has no idea who the hell this black guy is, he is
the man who everybody wants to know.
Absolutely. You know, one of the most gratifying things is you see people who know Clarence very well who go, you actually got him. You got the whole him, which is very touching.
And what was interesting about it, again, when you see the documentary and you're hearing these stories and you're going, seriously? Seriously? Especially the one where you had CBS and making E.T. and all these different people at the table, and they're like, well, who is Clarence here for? Well, Clarence is actually here for all of us, and how he is the ultimate connector, if you will.
Right. That's why I always try to have at least 2 or more people telling a story. A, just to get all those different perspectives on it, and also to confirm it really happened. Because these stories are kind of unbelievable. You go, wait, this guy did all those things? And you go, yes, yes, yes. All these things are confirmed.
What was also, I think, what was important is that when you look at the telling of this story, the fact that you had this white man who was in the business, who became Clarence's Sherpa, his guide, somebody who said, I am going to show you the business, but I'm also going, because I also recognize something in you. It's also valuable for what we do.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary experience, an extraordinary relationship between him and Joe Glazier.
He calls Mr. Glazier.
Always, Mr. Glazier.
Throughout the entire documentary, he always says Mr. Glazier. Doesn't say Joe.
No, and in the same way, you know, when you are around people who work with James Brown and they only say Mr. Brown, you just go, oh, that's that old school thing where you do that and you always do that. That person could be gone for 40 years. They will only say Mr. Glazier, Mr. Brown. There's this great story, not in the film, where Joe Glazier loved baseball. He had a section at Yankee Stadium, right? When there was a nameplate that said Joe Glazier, where he sat. And so he would call Clarence and go, we're going to the Yankee game. Pick you up at 6:30. So they'd be walking down to the seats and Clarence would stop because at a certain point, black people aren't supposed to go. So Joe will turn around and go, what's wrong with you? Because I'm not supposed to be done there. So you with me. And not only would he take Clarence down there, he would tell, hey, Governor Dewey, move over. This is Clarence's seat. He's sitting next to me. And he would tell Clarence, just listen, you're going to learn some stuff.
That is wild. And then what he is seeing how power is wielded.
Yes. And Joe's statement at the end of that is like, this is going to be a little, in the vernacular. Joe would say, they shit just like you shit. Like, there's no reason for you to defer to anyone, whether they're a movie star or a politician, whoever. They're all just people, just like you.
What's also, I think, compelling about this particular documentary is the fact that here is someone, not more than a 9th grade education, but it shows people the value of the other education, the one that you cannot get in a classroom.
Absolutely. Clarence grew up in an environment where it was a fight to survive. It was a fight to survive in a home with an abusive stepfather. It was a fight to survive in a town, infested with Klansmen, where you couldn't walk down the street without a possible threat to your life. And so through that, he developed not only the instinct of how to survive, he maintained a value system that said, I'm going to fight for right. And that's quite exceptional because you can get into a survival mode and be very selfish. Well, it's just, I'm fighting to live. I'm fighting to live. But it's like, no. Let's fight for right. Let's fight to protect people who are defenseless. That's a different, higher mental state.
They actually give me the wind up.
I know.
I'm like,
it's never going to happen.
No, that's yeah. Yeah. Y'all about to get cussed out over there.
No, we're.
Who is they? Me and Kevin already had a different conversation. All right, let's go. So here's one of the things that also I thought is it. So there's this point in the documentary where it's these 5 white guys, all of these music heads, all of these folks are sitting there and talking about him. And I'm watching it, and I'm literally saying, why is it Clarence in one of those positions? Because they're talking about his brilliance. They're talking about just how this dude, just how smart he is. And I'm going, why the hell isn't he in one of those positions, earning the millions and millions of dollars and not having to have a couple of his friends bail him out when his record label goes under and loses the radio station? And I thought about other African Americans who just as smart, just as brilliant, but never got to sit in that top seat.
Look, I agree. I think in the unique case of Clarence, I think Clarence ultimately decided he loved making deals, he loved connecting people, but he didn't enjoy being an operator. You know, so even though he had 2 record labels, he had a radio station and all that, what he liked most was the deal and the hunt. So I think in the back half of his life, he said, that's what I like to do. This is so I'm going to focus on that. That said, there are so many enormously talented people who do not get the shot that they deserve. And the opportunity to prove themselves, the opportunity to mess up, and then get a second and sometimes third shot. And that's a shame. And hopefully this movie will inspire more people to ask that same question that you just did.
Took you 3 years to do this. An enormous number of celebrities who were in this. And you watch it and you go, dang, who didn't this dude connect with?
Absolutely. And here's the thing. He didn't just connect with them, work with them, do a deal with them. Those people still feel a very deep connection to the point when you call and say, we're doing a documentary for Clarence, they all say yes. 2 presidents say yes. You know, 2 of the greatest sports legends ever, Jim Brown, Henry Aaron, say yes. Unbelievable. But they say this guy made a meaningful difference in my life.
I love the Coca-Cola story in Hank Aaron, how Clarence just called, and I don't use the N-word, but basically he tells his white CEO, black folks buy Coke.
A lot of Coke. And
I mean, just straight up.
And the thing is, he walks into the boardroom, he pulls his chair up to the desk, so basically it might as well be his desk as much as the CEO's desk. Doesn't say hello. Just cuts right to, we buy a lot of Coke. And that's the beginning of the negotiation. Now, you know how it's going to go if that's step 1.
Right. If that's the beginning of it, you know how this thing is going to happen.
Absolutely.
What do you, Clarence is 88. I called him a few days ago, and he said, man, I've gotten more calls from around the world than I ever have in my life. There's so much we can learn from watching a documentary like this here. I think about the Jerry Weintraub book, that documentary. There was so much I learned reading it in terms of how you deal with people, how you negotiate, how you visualize things. What do you want a young African American, or somebody of any race, and because Netflix is also worldwide, there are people all around the world seeing this. What do you want them to learn from this that they can use, no matter what their field is?
Clarence's ability to evolve is unbelievable. This is a guy, 9th grade education, Climax, North Carolina, sharecropping, which is virtual slavery, right? That's not a promising start. But somehow he made the most out of any window of opportunity he was given. And he was able to rise to the occasion to the point that he's sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom of the White House. He's doing deals with the top power brokers in New York and LA. It's because he never hit a ceiling where he wasn't competent anymore. He kept having curiosity, he kept learning, and he never said, here's these external reasons that have stopped me from getting what I want. He always checked himself and said, how do I grow to be ready for the next thing? And that's a lesson for every person. I don't care what level you are right now.
Last question. You've got a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
When I talked to Harry Belafonte, he had 800 hours worth of content when he did his documentary. What the hell are you gonna do with all the rest of that stuff? Because I'm taking, it's a bunch of stuff that you haven't even used.
Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff. There's some amazing stories. I just, mentioned one to you.
Right, which was the one about Joe and and going to the stadium. That wasn't in the documentary.
Right. We have an easy hour of stories, just great stories, great deals, great everything. So, look, this movie is so successful. Perhaps we can find a way to show folks some more stuff.
This is called The Black Godfather. If you have not seen it, you want to see it. It is an amazing documentary. You guys did a great job with it. And I just appreciate that Clarence allowed for the story to be told, because I think we need to hear more about figures like him and hearing their stories and also celebrating them while they are still with us.
Absolutely. Thanks to the Avant family, thanks to Netflix, and the amazing crew that dedicated their lives over all those years to make it happen.
Okay, I'm like a Baptist preacher. One final question. Okay, you did this here. Is there a doc of someone living or deceased that you would love to do?
There's several. There's people that I want to do, and there's also subject matters and events.
Got it.
Right? So, this is my first feature-length documentary. It seems to be very enthusiastically received. So in addition to feature films and television and comic book and live events, I'm going to mix a little documentary action into my future line of product.
All right, sounds good.
Yes,
Always
sir.
good seeing you, my brother.
Always.
Appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
Yes, sir.